Hi guys. Today I bring you another book. I just really like books. I think it's been a while since I've done like a book. I guess the magazine was 2 weeks ago, so take from that what you will. Today I thought maybe we could look through a vegetable gardener's handbook. This is by the Old Farmer's Almanac, so I have reason to trust it. This book I actually checked out from my local library. There's the library tag, and this is my way of reminding you, go to your local library. Utilize your local library. Even if you don't like to read that much, use the internet. Just go and hang out. If the internet goes out in your house, if you have a local library nearby, go visit. If you just want to hang out like by yourself for a while, go to the library. Libraries are dying, so this is the part where I tell you I'm in my car again. I'm sure you're so surprised. And I also have the windows down because it is a gorgeous spring day. Speaking of, it's about 80 here, so I have my water bottle. You can see it in the shadow. It's too tall to get on camera. But hydrate or dihydrate. Hydrate or dihydrate, my friends. So, let's get to it. I would like to mention first, if you're watching this, and you are a frequent viewer of the channel, first of all, I appreciate you. Welcome back. But if you're a frequent viewer, you might have known, like in the past, I've done videos with maps and maps of the national parks and things about the national parks, because I love the national parks. Not tomorrow, I'm so sorry. Tomorrow I have homework to do. Next week will be day 1 of a new series. Now there is an airplane. I live not terribly far from a UPS World Hub, so we get a lot of air traffic. And even though it's rural, a lot of road traffic too. But yeah, we're gonna start next week a new recurring series. We will not do it all the time. Every few weeks I'll do a new episode of it, basically. But yeah. So, using the hints that you have, you might have put it together, but we'll talk about that more next week. So let's check this out. Spring has sprung. My allergies are in full force. So let's take a look. So, the Old Farmer's Almanac, Vegetable Gardener's Handbook. Here's our contents. We have ground rules, and they also include journal pages. So if this was your own book, you could keep your details there. See how Part 2 contents. We have vegetables, so all kinds of information on all kinds of vegetables, most common ones to grow across the United States and possibly into Canada. And then growing concerns, so how to fight disease and pests, keep animals out, things like that. So like a questions and answer thing. Ground rules. house, and that looks like Swiss chard. That was a loud van. That was just an SUV. And it's so funny because I can sit here in my car any other day of the week and like enjoy my lunch. Just enjoy my lunch, which usually just consists of me reading a book. I can just sit here, not a single car will pass by the entire lunch hour. But the second I pull out this camera to do like quiet work, the entire county needs to use this road. So here we are with the getting started section in ground rules. And we're not going to read all of it because this is quite a large book for just a ASMR video filmed on a cell phone. My car is talking. She does that. But they have a Chinese proverb here. Life begins the day you start a garden. I love gardening. I love getting my hands dirty. I know some people cannot stand it. I really don't mind it. So this talks about like where to start your garden, like the very basic thing about gardening. So we've got choose a sunny spot, be in the clear, so avoid planting crops near large trees, know your waterways and means, so have a hose handy, encourage air travel, so you want air to be able to flow through plants to help keep diseases at bay, be wary of the winds of change, so having shelter versus not having shelter, depending on the weather, can really change things up. Avoid a space race, so you don't want to put too much stuff together. You don't want to put the wrong things together. Warm to being frost free, so we don't plant early where I'm at because we almost always get like a final frost towards the end of April, sometimes into the beginning of May. Even after weeks of 60, 70, 80 degree weather, you can have a final frost like that, and that will just kill everything. So this is saying don't plant where you'll get frost, but where I'm from, in my neck of the woods, it's just don't plant until like May. Keep everything indoors. So this is actually frosts and growing seasons based on regional data. Let's see. Let's pick some out here. Like Juneau, Alaska, you get a good 142 days of a growing season, with the last frost being in May 8th and the first frost being on average September 28th. Omaha, Nebraska, which I've been to several times, get 160 days on average for growing, and the last frost could be in around April 27th, and the first frost being October 5th. Let's pick some closer to me without being like way too obvious about it. Indianapolis, Indiana, 171 days for growing, with the last frost around April 25th and a first frost on October 14th. Nashville, Tennessee, about 198 days for growing season, with the last frost being April 12th and the first frost being October 28th. Cincinnati, 175 growing days. April 23rd to October 16th is typically the safe range. Lexington, Kentucky, 183 days, with a safe range between April 20th and October 21st. So, a lot of variance depending on where you live, like a lot Las Vegas has 300 days. In leap years, add a day. Frost doesn't occur every year. Like in San Francisco, here's where it has 2 stars. The little asterisks down here say frost doesn't occur every year. So they don't even have data on that. And then Phoenix or Las Vegas, Orlando, so typically very hot places. They say in leap years, add 1 day to that. Very specific. We have our Canadian days as well. I wonder what the lowest one is. Oh, there we are, Thompson. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know all of the provinces. I don't know what MB stands for. Now we got Alberta, British Columbia, but I'm really... MB and NB, I'm really not sure about those. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not familiar with these as well. Ontario, Quebec. Yeah, I know less than I thought I did about Canada. Maybe we'll have to do a video on that for my Canadian friends. If I have any Canadian friends on here. Maybe one day, if not now. But looks like the lowest number is Thompson with 58 growing days, with the last frost being June 18th and the first being August 16th on average. Wow. Some common gardening tools include things that you should have, of course. A garden fork, garden scissors, gloves, very important. I just cannot imagine reaching into soil barehanded. It was just funny because I said I don't mind to get dirty, but I really it freaks me out. A hand cultivator, a hand pruner, a hoe, a garden hose, of course, padded kneelers if you have to kneel, or a stool if you can sit, rakes, shovel, and a spade, a trowel, a watering can if not a hose, or if you have very small watering jobs, wheelbarrow or yard cart, only if you're doing really big stuff. And there's some tool maintenance, like always clean it off, sharpen digging tools, things like that. So yeah. Some pros and cons of above ground beds. Somebody has been underlining in here. This also talks about soil mixtures for above ground beds. We just kind of wing it. We've had years to figure this out. Container gardening. That can be useful if you don't live on any acreage or have any yard space. That's really pretty. Just hanging from a... That's a really good idea. That'll attract the bees and butterflies. This can feed you. Cute. Garden starts with soil. This talks about soil tests, earthworm tests, the pH test. Honestly, we'd probably save money if we did that, but we just don't do that. Oh, but these are the big 3. So these are what make gardens function. So these are the big 3 nutrients that you will find in fertilizers, things like that, and as well as healthy soil. So nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. The little 3 include calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. So these talk about some ways to achieve those, but I think it's different for everybody. But there's our first pages there of journal entries. Soil texture. That does change a lot of things. So this is the textural triangle, and I actually use this in geology. This talks about the depending on the percentage of clay, silt, or sand, gives you your answer here of like what it is. So if it's 50% silt and 50% clay, when you cross over in the middle, you're most likely clay. If you're also sitting at 50% sand. But if it's any less sand, you'll have silty clay, or if it's any more sand, you'll have sandy clay. So this is an important little graphic there that I do hope is visible. Yeah, it is, okay. And pH. So different vegetables have different pH preferences. They're really not that far apart, sitting in the 6 to probably 8 range, maybe 5.5 to 8 range. Garlic does okay in that exact range. But yeah. Celery, very specific with a 5.8 range, or as a minimum 5.8 there. More journal entries for a soil's pH. And everybody's favorite, compost. Compost is very important because greens need high nitrogen, or include high nitrogen, sorry. So this is a good way to get nitrogen content. Browns have a lower nitrogen content, but color is not always a reliable indicator of the material. Air, you don't need it to be super packed. You need air to be able to get in there. So air is introduced when you turn and mix the compost, which will speed up decomposition, which of course is how we break down the nutrients. A compost planner, very, very good. So what will you grow? This talks about planning. I just can't plan, I just have to wing it. And here we are, some seed stuff. It says make a list of like what you want to do, purchase seeds, read the seed packet so you have your information, prepare the soil. And here's a DIY soil starter, which includes compost, coconut fiber, or well-rotted leaf mold, and perlite. It talks about the containers you can use. We're using old, I think, bakery containers for our seed right now. And then you start the seeds based on the information on the packet. Make sure that they get plenty of water. You're rotating them a quarter turn every day and monitoring the moisture. Most seeds like it moist. So what happens if you get mildew? Because the water humidity is just, the soil humidity is too high from watering, which means increase the air circulation by like opening the lid, see if you can scrape off mildew, things like that. Hardening off. Before transplanting seedlings, homegrown or from a nursery, you need to prepare them for the outdoors, which is called hardening off. During the plant's last week indoors, withhold fertilizer and add water less often. 7 to 10 days before transplanting into the garden, set the seedlings outdoors in dappled shade where they will be protected from the wind for a few hours every day. So you kind of acclimate them. You gradually increase their exposure to full sun and windy conditions, and that is the hardening off period. Keep the soil moist, but that is only because dry air and spring breezes are typically quite drying. So that's interesting. That's just to acclimate it. I'm pretty aggressive. I'm just like, yep, sink or swim, babe. When to plant. There's no single day on which everyone everywhere can start planting. So here's a couple different tests. Kind of looks more like old wives' tales. Yeah, your traditional beliefs. The mud cake principles. Grab a handful of garden soil, and if it can form into a ball and hold its shape, the soil is too wet. If it breaks into two clumps, it's still too wet. If the soil sticks, but if the ball crumbles, your garden is ready for seeds. If the soil sticks to your tools, it's too wet. If the soil crumbles through your fingers like chocolate cake, it's ready for planting. The footprint test. Step into the garden and step back and look at your footprint. If it's shiny, then there's too much water. If it's dull, excess water has been drained away and it's time to plant. Planting by the moon. That takes a bit more, looks like, explanation. And this says to reference their almanac based on your zip code. Planting by nature's signs. So, like when blooming crocuses, or when crocuses bloom, it's good to plant parsnips, radishes, and spinach. Half-hardy vegetables like beets, carrots, and chard can be planted when the daffodils bloom. So that's pretty early down here. That's before the last frost. When forsythia is in flower, plant lettuce, onion sets, and peas. That is also before the last frost down here, so I'd be wary of that. When dandelions and or wild violets bloom, plant bush beans and plant pole beans 2 weeks later. When apple trees bloom, plant bush beans. When apple blossoms fall, plant pole beans and cucumbers. That one was really loud, sorry. When the quince is blooming, transplant broccoli and cabbage. When lilacs are in full bloom, plant squashes. That does make sense, lilac blooms kind of late. Transplant tomatoes when lily of the valley is in full flower. And transplant eggplants and peppers when irises are blooming. So according to all of that, I should be planting right now, but I don't know about that. There's not even that many like pre-made plants for sale right now, or pre-grown like hothouse plants yet. Like our stores are like empty. Companion planting. So this is an interesting concept I've only learned about recently. So these are the recommended lists for companion planting. So for beans, a lot goes, but you don't want to plant them with garlic, onions, peppers, or sunflowers. Cabbage, same vibe, but no broccoli, cauliflower, strawberries, or tomatoes. Carrots, they play nice with some stuff, but not anise or dill. Corn just doesn't work with tomatoes, but it has a few friends. Cucumbers, same vibe, just no aromatic herbs, melons, or potatoes. There goes a motorcycle. Lettuce has many friends, but no broccoli. Onions are okay with everything but beets, peas, and sage. Peppers don't do. Beans or kohlrabi. I might have pronounced that wrong. Radishes have very few friends, but hyssop and kohlrabi are okay. Tomatoes have quite a few friends, but they've also got some enemies over here. Broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, cauliflower, corn, kale, and potatoes. I wonder how much of that you're picking up. Looks like all of it, so that's fine. One of these days I'll get an actual camera so I can see myself. See what you all see. The Three Sisters principle, corn beans, and either pumpkins or squash, which is a long-held tradition by indigenous Americans long before the Europeans ever arrived here. That one is tried and true. Got some painting going on up here. I love library books. Got our herb partners. So Okay, I got you. So which ones work best together? Plus, like, extra information. There's just a lot of information there, so I'm kind of skipping it. The veggies. We got asparagus. One of the first plants to greet us in springtime. It is a perennial and will return year after year, although it may take 2 to 3 years to get started and produce. So that one's like a long-term commitment. Asparagus does need a lot of water, so water regularly. Wow, I don't think I've ever seen a bean plant. An asparagus plant. I don't think I've ever seen that before. I did not know that that's how they grew. That's crazy. I mean, I knew they just shot out of the ground. That's always been kind of weird, but I didn't know about the bushing. Crazy. Got our beans, which there are 2 different types. You have your pole beans and bush beans. Most commonly, both are referred to as green beans. I'm familiar with both types of bush and pole beans. Yeah. Beets. Beets are interesting. They're a cool season crop. It grows quickly in the bright sun. Broccoli. Sun-loving, cool season crop that can be grown in spring or fall, but excessive summer heat can cause bolting. The crown jewel of nutrition. I just wish it tasted a little better. Well, I guess not tasted. It's the texture for me.